Hello, grade 9s. Today, for the numeracy part of our lesson, we're going to be talking about rounding numbers. So our question here says, round each of the following numbers to the nearest hundredth. Use a number line to help you. So we've got a bunch of different numbers that have quite a few decimal places, and we would like to round it to the nearest hundredth. So when we round a number, we are cutting off some of the decimal places so that we're not writing out quite as many numbers. So the nearest hundredth, the tenth would be the first number after the decimal, and the hundredth would be the second number after our decimal. So if we are trying to round to the nearest hundredth, I'm looking at my first number here, which is 8.6239254. So the nearest hundredth means we count the whole part of the number, which is 8, and then the first two numbers after the decimal, which would be 8.62. What I need to decide is whether this number is going to stay at 8.62 or whether we would round it up to 8.63. And in order to do that, we're going to do a little experiment with a number line. I'm going to look at this number line here, and on this end, I'm going to mark 8.62. On the other end, I'm going to mark what it would be if I rounded up, which would be 8.63. That would be the next number up after 8.62. And if you count, you'll see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spaces in between. And I picked that intentionally. What we're going to do is see if we can locate roughly on the number line where 8.6239254 would be. So on this first one, I am going to mark on the numbers so that you know where they are. Because there are 10 spaces here, we're going to be going up by 8.62, and then I'm going to do 8.621. This is going to be 8.622, 8.623, 8.624, 8.625, 8.626, 8.627, 8.628, 8.629, and then this would be 8.630. So there would be like a 0 on this one and a 0 on this one. So basically I'm looking at the thousandth spot, and then we're just kind of going up by ones in that section. So I picked 8.62 because that's the first two decimal places, and then 8.63 would be if I rounded up, and then I've just marked all the values in between. So what I want to do is estimate where I think this number is. So this is 8.623, so I'm going to find that spot that I marked, and then it's 39, so that's actually pretty close to 8.624. So I'm just going to roughly make a point right there. And it doesn't matter if I'm exact, whether I'm a little closer or further away from that tick mark. All I'm really interested in is looking at, is this number that I just marked, is it closer to 8.62 or is it closer to 8.63? And the answer is it's closer to 8.62, right? The distance between 8.62 and that number, or 8.63 in that number, it's definitely smaller here. So I'm going to say that that point, or that number, is closer to 8.62. So I would round it to 8.62. We're going to try another one. I'm not going to mark on as many numbers. So this one is 53.1072501. I would like to round it to the nearest hundredth, which means we're doing two numbers after that decimal point. So that would be 53.10. So if I'm doing this on the number line, on the far end here, I'm going to write 53.10. 0. Now, if I were to round that up, what's the next number up? Well, that would be 53.11. So that's what I'm going to write on this end here. So we already said that every time we're going up, there's 10 squares there. So I'm looking for 53.107. So this would be 0.101, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is where 53.107 would be. And it's 1072, so it's going to be a little bit bigger. So maybe roughly right there. And then I'm looking, is it closer to 53.10 or is it closer to 53.11? And the answer is it is much closer to 53.11. So we would round this to 53.11. All right, we're going to try the next one. I have 128.990421. So same thing, we're trying to round to the nearest hundredth. So that is 2 numbers after the decimal place. That would be 128.99. So I'm going to put that on this end. And then if I were to round that up, what comes after 128.99? That would be 129.00. That would be the next number up. So I'm at 128.99042. So this is 128.99 and then a little 0 there. So 042 is not going to be too far from here. It might be roughly right there. So that is way closer to 128.99. So when I round it, it's going to be 128.99. All right, we have one more example. So this one is 59.995601. I want to round to the nearest hundredth. So that would be 59.99. So I'm going to write on this side 59.99. And then on the other end, I want to know the next number up. Well, the next number up would be 60.00 if I went up. So 59.995. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be in the middle. And then it's 5601, so that's a little further in. It would be roughly there. Which if I look at it, is a little bit closer to 60 than it is to 59.99. So I would round this to 60.00. Okay, we're going to take what we talked about and look at some rounding rules associated with what we just did on the number line in our next video. So I'll see you in a minute.